A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to a brand new edition of Primetime News coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Abdullah Yameen concedes defeat in Maldives presidential election. Ibrahim Mohammed Soli becomes new president. JVP leader vows to expose Prime Minister's connection to the bond scam if a case is filed against him. Mahamanya DS Senanaika model village declared open. Angela Matthews forced to step down as captain, hands over letter of resignation to SLC.
Now the stories in detail. The Maldives strongman President Abdullah Yameen conceded he lost Sunday's election to his challenger, the President-elect long-time politician Ibrahim Mohammed Soli.
Maldivian Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced that the Maldivian Democratic Party candidate had received 134,616 votes. Candidate for the Progressive Party of the Maldives, incumbent President Abdullah Yameen Abdullah Gayoom, received only 96,132 votes. Ibrahim Mohammed Soli had won by a 16% margin over Abdullah Yameen, with 92% of the votes counted. The Maldives is home to a population of approximately 440,000 people. According to the Maldives Elections Commission, of 262,135 eligible voters in this election, 233,877 voters cast their votes at the 472 ballot boxes placed in the Maldives and in 4 countries abroad, including Sri Lanka and India. This is a voter turnout of 89.22%. Ibrahim Soli's win at the presidential elections brings an end to the 5-year reign of President Abdullah Yameen. Speaking to reporters following his win, Soli said he respects the decision taken by the people of Maldives to bring about a new change.
This is a moment of happiness. For many of us, this has been a difficult journey. A journey that has led to a prison cell or years in exile. It's been a journey that led to a complete politicization and breakdown of public institutions. But it's been a journey that has ended at the ballot box. The will of people has spoken, and it has spoken decisively for change. I want to thank all the people who came out and voted today. And I want to thank each and every member of our coalition who united for change and made this day possible. In particular, I would like to thank former President Mohammad Nasheed, former President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom for their perseverance, counsel and unrelenting commitment to reform in the Maldives. Finally, I would like to call upon President Yameen and ask him to respect the will of the people and to immediately begin the smooth transition of power as per the Constitution and the law. Thank you for having your say in the future of our country. Thank you for making your voice heard. The message is loud and clear. The people of the Maldives won't change.
54-year-old Ibrahim Mohammed Soli was first elected to Parliament in 1994, aged 30, as the MP from his hometown. Soli is one of the closest friends of former President of Maldives, Mohammad Nasheed, and also played an instrumental role in establishing multi-party democracy in the Maldives. The President-elect has been the parliamentary group leader of the Maldivian Democratic Party since 2011. The President and Vice President elected today will be sworn in on the 17th of November 2018. Former Maldives President Mohammad Nasheed, speaking early this morning, hailed the result of the elections as a win for democracy and freedom.
This most certainly is a vote for democracy and freedom. I like to congratulate Honorable Ibrahim Mohammed Soli, the President-elect. He has worked extremely hard and extremely cleverly.
Speaking exclusively to Newsfirst this evening, former President Nasheed said he would work towards further strengthening ties between Sri Lanka and Maldives.
We hope to rebuild the Maldives again. We hope to rebuild our democratic institutions. We will also have much better relations with Sri Lanka. and we hope to combine both our countries far greater than we have done in the past.
This was the third presidential election held in the Maldives following the adoption of the 2008 constitution, which paved the way for multi-party democracy in the Maldives. Voters sent out the incumbent President Abdullah Yameen in an extraordinary rebuke to a leader who jailed political opponents and judges and drew his country closer to China during a tumultuous 5-year term. In April this year, former Maldives President Mohammad Nasheed, who was the chief guest at the Executive of the Year award ceremony of the Capital Maharaja Organization Limited, called for the shortcomings in the Yameen administration to be averted and a new political and economical structure be adopted for the nation of islands.
You've delivered an address to the UN, you've spoken on international forums. Why do you keep doing it? What wakes you up every morning and what drives you?
Well, standing here, especially with these colleagues, the executives of the Maharaja Group and the family, it's fairly easy to say it. Never give up. Never, never, ever give up hope. And you can win it. You can always fight against the odds and you can win it.
The Maldives is a tropical nation in the Indian Ocean composed of 26 ring-shaped atolls, which are made up of more than 1,000 coral islands. The Indian Ocean island is best known overseas for its clear waters and high-end resorts, but its government stands accused of crushing dissent. Although the crisis may appear to be an internal power struggle in the South Asian island country, it has wider geopolitical ramifications and has spiraled into a power struggle between India and China. Two main forces, China and India, supported the two candidates, creating a Cold War in the Indian Ocean. China supported the incumbent President Abdullah Yameen and India supported the President-elect Ibrahim Mohammad Soli during the elections. The South China Post in China confirms this. Congratulating Soli on his victory, India's Ministry of External Affairs said India is looking forward to stronger ties with its neighboring country. It added the election marks not only triumph of democratic forces in Maldives, but also reflects firm commitment to democracy and rule of law. The United States congratulated the people of Maldives, who peacefully raised their democratic voices to determine the future of their country. The US urges calm and respect for the will of the people as the election process concludes. Sri Lanka welcomed Ibrahim Mohammad Soli securing victory following the election in the Maldives, where the people exercised their franchise in a decisive manner to uphold their commitment to democracy and the rule of law. Sri Lanka commended the government and the people of the Maldives for the conduct of a successful election process that was free, fair and peaceful. The statement goes on to say that Sri Lanka looks forward to working closely with Ibrahim Mohammad Soli and the people of the Maldives in pursuing the elevation of relations between the Maldives and Sri Lanka to greater heights.
President-elect of the Maldives, Mohammad Soli, has already begun the process to release unfairly incarcerated political convicts. In the latest development, MP Abdullah Riyaz was released after the criminal court made the decision to do so today. This comes after President-elect Ibrahim Mohammad Soli urged President Yameen to release all political prisoners.
A victory for democracy. The people of the Maldives have acted in the most challenging of circumstances and have voted for democracy and the return to the rule of law. Join former President Mohammad Nasheed live on TV1 at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
The 127th model village constructed under the Samata 7 Udagamana program was declared open by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today. The village was named the Mahamanya D.S. Senanayaka village.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party Sajith Premadasa, Minister Gayantha Karunatilaka and State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena were among those present for the event. The village is constructed in the Vadiweva area in Suryaweva Hambantota. A sprout of the Sri Mahabodhiya was also planted at this village. The Prime Minister and Minister Sajith Premadasa then inspected a few of the houses. The Prime Minister presented title deeds for the new houses, housing loans and self-employment equipment to the new occupants of these houses. Like his father, he is devoting all his time towards this. I have no reservations that by the end of next year, we will reach our goal. When I handed him the Ministry of Housing, people asked me whether he will be able to work like his father. He is showing that my decision is correct, and for that I am thankful. Our opponents claim the economy, the rupee and the livelihoods of the people as a whole have collapsed. If that is the case, how is it that we were able to construct 2,500 Udagammana villages? How is it that we were distributing land for free for these 2,500 Udagammana villages? If the economy has collapsed, how is it that we give 500,000 as aid to the low-income earning families? All political leaders in Hambantota oppose the handing of properties to Minister Sajid Premadasa. Even people from our own party are working against this program. In addition, heifers belonging to cattle farmers are all over the place. There is an increase in homicides in the country. The police special task force was armed to apprehend those involved. They have been given an order from Colombo to carry out 60 raids per month from each camp. These are just minor raids. This is to generate funds for the government. That is now enough, Prime Minister. The people and the young generations are being destroyed by this drug menace. The drug peddlers from Colombo have been brought to the prisons. So now the drugs are moving in there as well.
73rd session of the UN General Assembly will begin today at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Now, this year's theme of the UNGA session is making the United Nations relevant to all people, global leadership and shared responsibilities for peaceful, equitable and sustainable societies.
Representatives from 193 countries of the United Nations will take part in this year's UN General Assembly. As the Assembly's new president, Ecuador's former Foreign Minister Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garces will lead this week's annual general debate, which will take place for 9 days. International media reports suggest diplomats will be focusing their talks on world peace at the top of the agenda. President Sirisena will be one of the most prominent speakers at the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit, the most important global peace event organized on the sidelines of the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly. The president will address the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly tomorrow. This will be his 4th consecutive annual address to the world body.
The Met Department has forecast over 100 millimeters of rain across several areas in the country. However, many districts continue to suffer from the drought.
Many acres of farmland in Kapitigolla and Anuradhapura have been destroyed due to the dry weather. Many waterways and water sources have dried up as well. If the dry spell continues for a few more months, the people will perish.
No one came here to see how these people are surviving. We're somehow living because we can't die.
While Kapitigolla in Anuradhapura is battered by the drought, the Anuradhapura town and Polonnaruwa town experienced heavy rain this evening. One man died after an earth embankment collapsed on him in Kuduvil, Ampara. The victim from Batiklo was digging an agrarian well when the tragedy had occurred. At the same time, this was the situation of the Panlagama reservoir in Damana. The highest temperature of 37.7 degrees Celsius recorded during the past 24 hours was reported from Vaunia. Polonnaruwa was the second highest with a recorded temperature of 37.6 degrees Celsius. The highest rainfall of 131.5 millimeters recorded during the past 24 hours was reported from Habarana. Colombo recorded a rainfall of 114.1 millimeters, Ratmalana with 94.2 millimeters, while Mattala recorded a rainfall of 77.1 millimeters. Gale winds that swept across many villages in Kahatagasdigilia and Anuradhapura caused considerable damage to around 80 houses. 6 houses were completely destroyed by the gale winds. The supply of electricity to the area was disrupted due to uprooted trees.
The General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Minister Mahinda Amaraveera, says DIG Nalaka de Silva should be arrested and investigations opened into his alleged involvement into the plot to assassinate the President and the former Defence Secretary.
Based on the information gathered from the telephone conversations, I called for the DIG to be arrested and investigated, not just to be removed and transferred. Just because one is in uniform, one cannot be given special treatment. The threats are against the head of state and the former Secretary of Defense. We will not allow anyone to sweep this under the carpet. If anyone is involved in this, if anyone is aiding in this matter, we will take action against that person irrespective of that person's position. We will not falter in taking action. The Criminal Investigation Department has arrested a man who visited the house of Namal Kumara, Operations Director of the Anti-Corruption Movement, who revealed this conspiracy. According to the Daily Mirror newspaper, he has been taken into custody following information Namal Kumara gave the police. It is paramount that investigations are carried out over the visit of an Indian national to the residence of Namal Kumara, who revealed the conspiracy to assassinate the president and the former Secretary of Defense. The reason for this is because it was a man identified as Babu, connected to India's spy agency, who faced serious allegations over the assassination of the late President Ranasinghe Premadasa. The name of the Inspector General of Police was mentioned in the controversial phone conversation between Namal Kumara and the DIG Nalaka de Silva. Further, the Daily Mirror, quoting Minister Nalin Bandara, stated that the IGP is set to travel to London to attend a training program. The report further adds that the Secretary to the Ministry, Padmasiri Jayamanna, Senior Assistant Secretary M. Surya Peruma and DIG Mahesh Senaratne are also set to join the IGP at the training session in London on the 30th of this month.
JVP leader Anukumar Dissanayake, speaking in Monaragala, commented on a series of matters ranging from the economy to the former president's media briefing over the weekend.
There is no point speaking about Ravi Karunanayake, Malik Samaravikrama, Lakshman Kiriyalla or even Monaragala Zoisa. We cannot speak about them without speaking about the sale of certain resources. If we speak of Mahinda, we will have to speak about the exposés on the theft that had been taken place during his administration. Both camps cannot build this country. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa convened his first press briefing. A journalist raised a valid question. He was asked about his opinion on the present status of the rupee. Next to him was Veeravansa. No point asking him. The other side was also the same. Cabral, who was seated behind him, whispered something to his ear. Mahinda repeats whatever is whispered to his ear. Are they leaders? Then he spoke about the North. Then a journalist raised questions about Keith Noyer. Then he says there is no connection between the economy and Keith Noyer. But the Northern elections is connected to the economy according to him. These are people who only respond to matters that benefit them and refuse to answer matters that don't benefit them.
Speaking further, MP Anukumar Dissanayake commented on the present state of affairs.
Foreign nations have already taken over our economy. The Singapore FTA is signed for the need of other countries. Mahinda goes to India to draw plans to build the next government. There was an issue with the President and the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister goes and meets with the US Ambassador. When the budget speech was delivered, 2 members from the IMF were seated in the gallery. Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe are thieves. I will prove it. Aren't Kiriyalla, Ravi Karunanayake, Basil Rajapaksa thieves as well? Can anyone say they are not thieves? These are people who looted the public funds to the tune of billions. We are prepared to prove it to the country. It is a group of thieves that govern this country. A case on the bond scam will not be filed against Ranil Wickremesinghe. But will they file a case because I said? Ranil Wickremesinghe can meet me in court, and on that day, I will prove his connection to the bond scam.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa took part in a Dhamma sermon at the Carlton House in Tangal today. Now, following the event, the former president commented on the depreciation of the rupee against the dollar.
This government is not managing the increase in the dollar. The government, together with the finance ministry, needs to take an immediate decision and control the float of the rupee. From 2007 to 2011, Asian countries faced an economic crisis. However, we did not allow the Sri Lankan rupee to fall. If the previous government was able to achieve that, this government should also have the ability. This government's focus is on taking revenge, and therefore there is no time for them to look into these issues. They falsely blame that the country is deep in debt. We need to pay more rupees for all the products imported into the country. Why were the prices of cars increased? We are now importing rice, dal and sugar. Sugar is being piled up in 2 factories without releasing them to the market.
UNP MP Vijaypala Hettiarachchi, speaking in Galle, commented on the former president's media briefing.
Mahinda Rajapaksa goes on to say, if this government cannot function, hand over governance to him. This is what is being shamelessly said by a former president in this country who governed for 10 years.
Welgama says Mahinda Rajapaksa will be the presidential candidate.
I agree with that statement 100% because he says Mahinda Rajapaksa can contest, but he cannot contest and remain in that post. After being appointed, and if the matter is taken up in court over certain allegations, and when it is clear that he cannot remain, court would decide that he must be fined. And if he went according to the wrong way, court would even send him behind bars. He says this is not the legacy of the Rajapaksas when commenting on Basil Rajapaksa and Namal Rajapaksa. They lost the SLFP legacy, and now they will lose the SLPP legacy as well.
Then Sri Lanka Nidas Paksa urume නැති වුණා. දැන් කියන පොදු ජන පෙරමුණෙත් උරුමය නැති වෙනවා.
Attorney at law Nagananda Kodituaku convened a media briefing to comment on a series of matters.
And the very objective of this 20th amendment is to make the president important. The executive president important with no executive power, not even a member in the cabinet of ministers. Why they are doing it? Now the Janata Vimukta Peramuna, they inform and they talk to the people, they hold press conference and they say, and that is the very, very democratic process. It is not that. It is a complete falsehood. You know very well, a number of press conference was held by the JVP, and they also met Mahanayaka, and they publicly claimed, we stand for a referendum. If that is the case, they shouldn't have come before the Supreme Court at all. We, on behalf of the sovereign people, we challenge the bill before the Supreme Court because it's obviously violated the people's sovereign right. Why this bill did not mention it in its head note, it doesn't say anywhere else in the bill that this bill is meant to be approved, intended to be approved by the people at a referendum. The Parliamentary Secretary General shall send it to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General shall send this recommendation to the Parliament within 6 weeks. This hearing, that could have been easily avoided if the bill carried that statement that the bill intended to be approved by the people at a referendum. It was deliberately avoided. It was deliberately avoided by the UNP, JVP and the TNA. And you can see here, Janata Vimukti Peramuna informed the Supreme Court that no referendum is required to pass this bill. This is a very serious wrongdoing. I don't think that any citizen should consider JVP anymore as an honest political party, but they have lost their credibility completely for the second time.
Nagananda Kodituaku also commented on the conduct of the present Attorney General as well. If they postpone the elections, putting aside the decision of the court, where is the respect to the judiciary in this country? The Attorney General Jayantha Jayasuriya cannot take a decision that is different from that given by the Supreme Court regarding the Provincial Council elections. The Attorney General is set to retire at the start of next month, and he is the very same person they are trying to appoint. And this is the same person Ranil Wickremesinghe is trying to appoint as the Chief Justice. There are several allegations against him. Appointing such an individual as the Chief Justice means we are committing a greater mistake than the appointment of Mohan Piris and Sarath Silva, who committed serious destruction. The people of this country are being deprived of their rights.
News First made several attempts to contact Attorney General Jayantha Jayasuriya for a comment on these allegations. However, our attempts proved futile. Moving on to other local stories, an inquiry has been launched into reports which claimed patients who received treatment from an eye clinic at the District General Hospital in Nuwara experiencing certain complications.
The Director General of Health Services had instructed the Director of the District Hospital to immediately suspend the use of vaccinations which was used at the eye clinic. Reports claim 55 patients had attended the eye clinic, which was organized recently, and 17 of them were hospitalized after they complained of complications. Sources said the patients were being administered with medication and they are showing positive results. He went on to note that samples of the medication have been sent to the National Drug Quality Assurance Laboratory for tests.
In News Justin, President Maithripala Sirisena delivered his speech at the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit, which is currently being held on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. The President, together with several other world leaders, spoke on the life of the late Nelson Mandela. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.